Well, hey, greetings YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of my channel. Do I call it episodes? I don't think we call it episodes. Just welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about shooting with a pocket-sized camera, specifically shooting with the Ricoh GR IIIx for the past couple of weeks. This has been kind of my everyday carry, and it's been pretty much the only thing that I want to shoot with. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and then also just life in general. It's been a minute since I made a video, and that's because when I started my YouTube channel, I was aware that I was probably going to start a new job. I was kind of like in the negotiation process of what that job would look like and where it would be, all those kind of things. And I started that job shortly after I filmed the second video, and since then it has eaten up a lot of my time because it is something that's based on being on location. So unlike remote work where you can kind of just pop out a video on your lunch break or something, this requires a little bit more time and effort, and so I haven't really found that much time. But here I am on my lunch break at work on a bench drinking a Maison Perrier and talking about photography. And you know what? That might just be the future of this channel altogether. That might just be what it is. We might hear the birds singing, you might hear some breeze in the background and some wind, and yeah, that's just where I am in life, and that's where it'll be. Today I want to talk about specifically this bag. This is the Bellroy. It's like a 7-liter tote. I don't remember exactly what the name of it is. I'll put it in the description below. This is what I've been carrying with me every day to work, and it has the usual things in it, like my wallet and sparkling water. Keep my lunch in there. I usually keep a book in here. Field notes are always nice to just kind of jot down some things. I actually kept what I'm filming this with in this bag too, which is the Lumix S9 with a 17mm lens and a microphone fit in here. And on top of that, I have a hard drive, which is always nice to keep. I also have this little thing, which I'm super excited about. My brother got my boys, my two kids, my two sons, these little Anbernic game consoles that's like has a bunch of ROMs on it that you can emulate. And I'll be honest, I was a little jealous. And I thought, you know what, on my lunch breaks it'd be really nice to, like, I don't know, play Pokemon Emerald or Legend of Zelda Minish Cap on the GBA. And so I found this. This is the Anbernic, I don't know if you can see it. It's the RG34XX SP, which is basically like the old SP styled Game Boy Advance. And I love this thing. This thing is so cool. I loaded up a bunch of GBA ROMs on there. And like I said, I've been playing Minish Cap and some Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z and all that kind of stuff. And it's actually really cool because it lets me have something in common with my kids. So they're playing the same things I am to some extent, and we talk about it. So it's a bit nerdy, but it's kind of cool. And then I have another hard drive in here somehow, and some more wires and headphones. I have a pair of AirPods in there. And I keep my phone and my wallet and all that stuff in there too. But the one thing that I have consistently been using since I filmed my last video is the Ricoh GR IIIx, which I mentioned in my last video that I love this thing because of the 40mm lens. And then I threw out a bunch of little cons, and those cons were, let's just say they were a bit unfounded, right? They revolved around its size being somewhat small and diminutive. The buttons are a little, clicky sometimes, and that can be hard to navigate and get used to. But when I picked that camera back up to do that particular video on 40mm lenses, I realized what I loved about this camera was just kind of everything. Even my cons are not really cons. It fits in my pocket. It can go with me anywhere. It has an APS-C size sensor. You can bake in some recipes in the JPEGs. And it's just a really great snapshot camera. And beyond that, it's just a really great camera altogether. And I have been taking this everywhere with me to work, and I've been snapping like little things that I see kind of all around. I have been taking it everywhere my family and I go just to take pictures instead of like my phone or my Leica. And I have just found a renewed sense of love for this particular device. I just think it's the coolest. And the only thing that's preventing me from upgrading to the GR4 is I really want a GR4X. I want a 40mm lens. I love that focal length. It fits my lifestyle, it fits the way I shoot. And honestly, this is really kind of great. So let me say why I started shooting with this in particular. So I'm doing marketing and digital media for a resort, and so on a daily basis I'm using bigger cameras, editing photos in Lightroom, and editing videos and posting stuff on social media. And honestly, on a personal level, I'm just kind of fatigued with the whole process. And so if I'm doing that for work, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time messing around with that when I just want to take some images for fun. And when I picked this back up, this reminded me of exactly what it was like, a very natural, organic process. And honestly, it took me back to my earliest days of photography when I was a kid, and I had a little snapshot camera, and then later had the Canon PowerShot Pro 1. And I took that to concerts with me all the time, and I just shot pictures of my friends. And, you know, admittedly, I was a scene kid back in the day. And so it was like, I had pictures of the scene. I was like documenting the scene. Pictures are terrible by today's method, but it's what got me into photography. And this reminds me a lot of that because of the process, but the results are far superior in every way, shape, and form. So I want to say a couple things about JPEGs, and then I'm going to let you know that when I show you some images, some of them may be JPEGs that are straight out of camera, some of them may be raw. I was gonna only do straight out of camera JPEGs, but honestly, like, I also enjoy messing with the raw files, so it's kind of a mix of both. But if you're one of those people who really wants to have a look kind of baked in, I personally think, and this is just me, I still think the Lumix S9 is such a great camera for that, with the LUT button. And the Fuji cameras are great, but I also think this Ricoh camera is really good too. And there are several looks, especially the black and white looks, that are really good. I really love the Vivid profile, which is very digital looking, but I find myself just really liking how it looks. The negative film looks really good, and then there's also a website called Ricoh Recipes, or it's an app, and it has a bunch of different recipes that you can dial in. But I want to show you some tips of how I shoot, which I think makes this just a slightly better experience, or at least how I'm shooting it. So first and foremost, I shoot usually in aperture priority, and I pretty much leave it at f2.8, which is its lowest or its highest aperture value, its widest aperture value, which is roughly like an f4 equivalent on a full frame camera. So I usually shoot around f2.8 to f4, and that's kind of my middle ground. I set the ISO to auto, and then what I do from there also is, and this is a really cool tip that I found, is if you go to, like when you're shooting, if you hit this little adjustment button, you can go all the way over to AE metering, and there's a little setting called highlight weighted, which is what I have it set on. And basically what that does is it kind of brings everything into an exposure value to where your highlights aren't blown out, which can make some really dynamic looking images. It can also lower your shadows a bit and make it kind of contrasty. And so from there, with my ISO on auto, with that metering set up on, and my aperture set, I then just use this little rocker to adjust my exposure compensation, either up or down. And usually I overexpose somewhere between 0.3 to 1 stop. And with all those settings together, it gives me a look that I really enjoy. I haven't always done that. I just kind of learned that as I've been playing around with it more. But yeah, I think it's a pretty great setup. So anyway, take a look at these images and let me know what you think in the comments. So now that you've seen the images, let me know what you think. Do you think that this camera is bringing in capable enough images to replace your bigger camera? Personally, I do, for what I'm shooting. I find that being able to shoot my family and just life events with something as small and as pocketable like this really allows me to kind of get in close and get some really intimate shots that I don't think I would get if I had a bigger camera on me and if I was looking through a viewfinder. I've actually gotten quite accustomed to holding it out at distances and you know, snapping a shot this way or that way. And I've even found it allows me to get in kind of closer, like, here's my can. And I can very simply take a picture of it. And there's also a little macro button right there that I can press at the very top to get me just a slight bit closer to my image. This, for me, has really been this wonderful, pure photography experience, which has been great for this particular phase of life. I don't have to think too much about it. I can carry this everywhere. The batteries surprisingly last for a long period of time, and I think that this is great. I don't use this for video, just use it for photos, and I've been really pleased with the results. So Ricoh's got a kind of a vibrant community of photographers. There's actually a web page set up on Ricoh's website that, you know, features some of the photographers who use a GR, and more specifically that use the GR3 or GR IIIx or the GR3 HDF or the GR4, and you can kind of see a list of it. I also found a link on the Phoblographer of a bunch of photographers who also use the Ricoh GR, and you might be surprised how they use them. And then, of course, there's also you know, like the film photographer Daido Moriyama, who is famously known for taking street photos with the Ricoh GR series camera, the film version. And I've just found that personally, this should not be dismissed. Like, yes, it's small. Yes, it's diminutive. Yes, the controls are a bit clunky, but when you get sort of used to the ergonomics and you have, like, say, for instance, a little hand strap like this, like, it's very, very quick and very, very easy to carry this with you everywhere and document all of life. And more specifically, having that 40mm focal length, I think really is just a great everyday carry kind of camera. What really sold me on this is my wife and I got a chance to, and this is going to expose my inner scene kid here, my wife and I got a chance to go see AFI live a couple months ago, and I snuck this in to the House of Blues and put it in my, like, jacket pocket, and just, like, got a couple snaps of, like, Davey Havok running around and acting like Davey Havok on stage. And when I was looking back at those, especially when I looked at the black and whites, they were just really great images. And it reminded me of, again, that sort of early stage in my life where I took a little small camera to a bunch of concerts, I documented what I saw, and I just enjoyed the process. And I have found with the Ricoh GR IIIx a renewed sense of childlikeness and joy. And joy and childlikeness, that sense of wonder, I think is the very thing that we all need as photographers. Wonder is what keeps us interested. Wonder is what keeps us coming back. Wonder is what makes us want to capture things and tell stories. And without wonder, there's just not much there. And this has been with me every day for the past several weeks, and it has been brilliant. And I have enjoyed just taking photos of my kids, my family, my life, and then silly stuff as well too. And just whatever I see that's capturing my eye. If the light looks good, this guy is here for it. So would I recommend a Ricoh GR IIIx? Heck yeah, I would. If you're on the fence about something like this, I think you can find a way to integrate this into your life. I have, and I will keep sharing those stories with you as well. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. And go in peace, and I'll see you on my next lunch break.